All right. We're live. It's Brunch with REC. It's the once a month that the REC Nation gets to see myself and Simos on a Saturday morning at 8:30. 8:30. Whew. It's not 8:30. It's 8:30. Hey, it's 8:30 in the morning somewhere, I'm sure. 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Big shout out to Tyler Ty Walburn, who's taking over the second segment every single month here live on YouTube for Brunch with REC, where he sits down with real REC insiders. And really quickly, for anybody who's just on right now, as always, let us know where you're coming in from. Get this comment section lit up. But as an REC insider, that is our client list that we've been cultivating in our community now for the last 17 years. And so Tyler sits down once a month on a Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and just documents what a real investor did or is doing. And big shout out to Joe and Ray from BV and Co. They were on the last segment, and they just went over their. It's cool, right, Simos? Because we got to really be part of their journey. And when we met them, I think there were maybe one property in. I think they're at like 10, 12, 14 doors or something now. So that's huge. Again, welcome.
Jazzy, first and foremost, good morning to everybody from myself. What Tyler is doing and what we decided to do, and the reason we're making that change is because we feel documenting your journey rather than just our journey and us giving advice. Sometimes everybody needs to hear practical advice, practical and real things that are happening on the street while we go through this journey. So to have BV on, and they were fantastic, by the way, in how they're doing their things and sharing their journey. I watched that one from top to bottom after, because I wasn't on when it was live. And it's just absolutely inspiring. It makes me feel proud to be a part of that journey, but it's also inspiring to see people that are not entrenched in real estate like we are, because it's our job, but they chose to get educated. They chose to make those moves, and now they're smashing through incredible investment opportunities and creating and writing their own ticket for the rest of their lives. So very, very proud to see that. Jazzy, are you there, pal?
Yeah, I think he's coming back in. Just give it a second or so.
No worries. Well, for everyone watching, we are experiencing a couple technical difficulties. I think we're on the heels of this whole COVID and streaming live for every show. I do sincerely hope that we're going to be back in our brand new studio within the next 4 to 6 weeks. It's under construction as we speak, and it's a 1,300 square foot space out at our Toronto office. So it's going to be not only beautiful but extremely functional, with no limitations from a bandwidth and internet standpoint that keeps causing these types of issues, especially when we're streaming to so many outlets at the same time. As many of you know, there is been tremendous activity in the marketplace. A lot of stats have come out that have generated a tremendous amount of headlines. I am going to slowly continue into that space and talk to that space this morning, as we have had an unrivaled activity and demand over the last, let's call it 6 weeks. Jazzy, welcome back, bro.
I appreciate it, buddy. I'm just, as the construction's going on in our office, I'm trying to do things from home. Continue with what you're saying, buddy, and then I got a couple of things.
Yes, so I was just mentioning we're actually, we should be done our construction in 4 to 6 weeks, but I was going to move into a little segment here that what the headlines are doing, what the bank is doing, all these little things I think that we need to cover off today.
Before we do that, brother, there's a couple of things that I really want, just some stuff before we get into the headlines and stuff. Yeah. First and foremost, my deepest condolences, as well as my families. You and I have been together as business partners for a very, very long time. But what I'm sure a lot of people don't know is our families are very close as well. My wife and your wife, our kids, both of our kids are a year apart. And when you're going through something like you're going through right now, I know that I'm speaking for myself, my family, the whole REC nation, brother, as well as our REC team. The passing of your father, I can't even imagine. My dad is definitely and has been my superhero, and I know you feel the same about your father. I love you, and whatever you need, I know the whole REC nation is feeling for you right now, brother. And in Simo's fashion, I asked him nicely not to be on today's brunch, just to do what he needed to do, because obviously you heard a couple of days ago, this all happened a couple of days ago, but you said, no, I'm there. I want to be there. It's exactly what I'm sure your father would want you to do. And in honor of Papa Elias, we're going to have a little quick drink on his for his honor. I'm going to try to get this Bailey's open. Big shout out to your dad.
I figured that's what the request for Bailey's
was. It was, buddy. And I think Steven Rochester is in the back as well with us. And I'm just trying to get this bottle open. And so, Steven, come make sure that you join us as well here.
Yeah, I'm in it. Good morning. Good morning.
Salute to your father.
Salute to my pops. Cheers.
Cheers.
Well, just to that, then I'll just give you a quick. It is everybody's father is important to them, and as you were saying, whether he's my superhero, your superhero, it's very difficult to lose a parent. I tragically lost my mother a couple years ago as well, and that was a very painful journey. Meaning that she had to fight with cancer, and that whole process and the way that goes, unless you experience it, it's just cancer. So after going through that extremely tragic and traumatic experience, I can tell you without a doubt that I feel my father, who was a pack-a-day smoker for 60 years, my dad was 79 when he just passed, for him to pass in his sleep, with really zero consequence to all of his choices, as a man, is the biggest blessing I could have asked for, and I truly mean that from the bottom of my heart. I'm very relieved that if he's gonna go, to go this way, because what I saw with what I experienced and lived through with my mom was just the most horrific thing on the planet.
Well,
so if you're gonna lose a parent, may you have the blessings of losing him the way I lost my dad, because it makes a big difference. Like I know I don't know if it sounds weird or not, but it makes a big difference, and I couldn't be happier in my loss.
Wow.
So that's how I feel.
And if there's any consolation, I know both your mother and now your father, and as it's very early, dude, I know how proud they are of you, especially your mom. I got to spend some time with your mom over the years. How proud they are of the human being that you have become. And so just big shout out to you and the whole family, buddy. Whatever you guys need, your brother, your sister, their significant others, and their kids. They obviously lost a grandparent as well. So just our thoughts and prayers are with you, brother. And I know, I'm sure, as I can't really see the comments or anything right now, I'm sure it's lit up, and I know your phone's been going crazy. Safe travels back to Alberta for a couple of days, and then you'll be up and running as you usually are. So let's shift, buddy. You wanted to talk about the headlines, which I think is important. We're going to try to go and cut this brunch down to about we're going to try anyways to about 40 minutes today. We're going to go for about 11:15ish till about 11:15 or whatever it is. Cover the headlines. So what headlines do you want to cover, brother?
The biggest piece of advice is this: we are in again an unrivaled market, record breaking, all the things, all the nonsense, And the first thing I saw this morning, for example, mortgage rates doubled. Oh, it's factual. Yes, they went from 0.25 to 0.50. They did in fact double. I want to make sure that no matter what, I can only speak to our REC insiders. I can only speak to the actions that we take. And as an REC insider, if you're here and if you get our emails, I make you liable now. It's on you to ensure that the people around you do not believe into dumb hype. If you're going to look at an article because the headline got you, read the article. Because the headline, its only job is to get your attention. But if we're going to talk like we have a problem at 0.5 interest rate, we have different problems then.
Well, let's talk about what it practically actually means, right? So for the average, first and foremost, yes, 0.2, the overnight lending rate went up 0.25%. It only actually affects the guys and gals, which majority of the insiders I'm sure are as investors on variable rates, has no effect on the fixed rates. We also know a lot of people that go on fixed rates. I think I have at least one mortgage, if not two, on a fixed rate, but mine as well are on variable. So there's been a slight increase to your point. For the fact that the rates are still where they are. I mean, we should still be throwing parties, and this is just not rhetoric that we're putting out there, but let's actually talk about it.
So it's not throwing parties. It would take 6 increases to catch up to a normal mortgage rate.
Right.
Anybody who thinks mortgage rates at 1% is a normal thing or at 2% is a normal thing, then you have done no homework. You have never seen anything that will educate you and prepare you for the market, because what we're doing right now is we're simply navigating through different times. So mortgage rates being at 2% is something that you have to carefully plan for. You have to understand. You have to anticipate how that's going to maneuver and what it will do to your portfolio, because these low rates have enabled Canadians, have enabled our REC insiders to take equity at a very low rate and make real estate plays on real estate that otherwise you could not, because of the very low payment, because of the amortization.
Well, the 0.25 increase on an average $500,000 mortgage changed people's payments by about $58. Call it $60 a month. So when you actually do the math on it, it's very, very insignificant. Now,
and even if it was 6 times, Jazz,
yeah,
and it was $500 a month.
Yeah, no, but now, Simos, at $500 a month, that's going to change people's
Sure.
thought process significantly, right? But still, I think the average Canadian who's purchasing homes, specifically in the GTA, like the $500 is not going to make like $500. There's going to be a lot of people that are still going to be in the market. The $60, it's not even a drop in the bucket of people's thought process of what's happened. At the start of the year, I can't remember which bank it was, could have been a couple of them, mentioned that there might be about 6 to 9, close to 9 increases. If we go back to our brunch at the end of the year, myself, you, and Chris Slidham, we were talking about probably closer to 3. They already met in January and did not increase it. And so I would like to think if they were going to be close to that, those 9 increases, the one in January would have been made, right? And so
listen, I repeat our prediction. We have one now. We're going to have one in May, August, or November.
Yeah.
Not August and November. I still think that there's going to be 3, not 6, not 5. It's going to be 3. They're simply watching the inflation. Gas, as everybody's seeing, is skyrocketing, and there's many reasons for that. Now, if we didn't need any more reasons, we have the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which is going to create even more nonsense. It will, guaranteed. If the supply chain wasn't destroyed enough by the pandemic, this is causing conflict, obviously, where the biggest powers have to pick sides, and the nonsense that goes with sanctions and all those things, those will affect gas prices. It does.
Well, it already has. I
It
mean,
already has.
at the pump right now, you're at $2, right?
So I think without losing sight of where we want to go with this convo, I think we have to just don't listen to nonsense rhetoric. The rates are going to go up because they were never meant to be here to begin with. They were here to battle a pandemic, to keep the economy moving. And now, obviously, there's always action and reaction. With a recovery comes inflation. With a recovery comes steps that have to counter the last steps. And if anybody wants to dig into that, there's a lot of great resources to understand how an economy bounces back and forth while the economists are trying to navigate it with the least impact possible. But mortgages are the number one tool used by any organization, by any country, by any economy in order, because housing is the biggest cost. Housing is 40% or 35 or 40% of your income. There's
Well,
nothing
you spoke about action and reaction, and I think that's a great segue into a thought that I was having 2 days ago, and so I know it resonated with a lot of people because I put up a quick 1-minute video, and I think there was a little over 6, 7,000, 8,000 in total with all the platforms. I think it went over a little over 10,000 views, a little over 300 shares. So I know it started to resonate with people, and it's all based on history. When rates go up like this, even as slightly as they have, everybody who's watching right now, live or the recording, you know that it's not a big increase. But here's what practically has happened in the past. So history being our best teacher, in people's homes. And maybe it's happening in your home right now. Maybe it happened literally before we got on, and hopefully we gave you the data of the fact that it's not a big change. But what has happened in the past, conversations go something like this. Honey, the rates just went up. They doubled. Oh my God, it's going to continue to go up. Values might drop significantly, honey. Let's not buy right now. So what people do, especially when you see, when you go to the gas pumps, it's at $2. People are going to start putting their hands in their pocket and not spending as much or as much, like as many times as they were. Especially with real estate, what has happened in the past is that they wait for a little bit, right? So let's see how this plays out, honey, which for investors in today's market, I think is the best silver lining or that we can take a look at. It's actually, you can really take advantage of some compelling opportunities right now. And to the tune, I think it's a very small window. It's about a 60-day window where people are going to start to put their hands in their pockets. That doesn't mean you're going to pick up a property for 90 cents on the dollar, 85 cents on the dollar, or something of that sort. What's going to happen is you're going to have less offers on properties because there's less people shopping, which then means that there's going to be less offers. And as investors, it's very tough, and it's always been tough. This is not a market that we haven't seen before. I mean, obviously, the 22%, 23% stuff we haven't seen, but we've seen multiple offers on properties our whole career. What happens is that, as I mentioned, people start to put their hands in their pockets, but then when you don't have as many buyers, especially end users, because as investors, we've never been able to compete against a family that is picturing growing their, growing a family and having kids, and they envision them running in the backyards. They'll pay an extra $80, $90, $100,000 on a property because they have that 10, 15 year kind of perspective and window where not many investors do. But if you're a savvy investor right now, might be a time that go out, call your realtor, call us, call whatever, and start looking at properties. You're going to notice where there was 37 offers on a property, you might have about 18 or 19. Well, that's amazing because you're competing against 18 less people now, right? And so
30% less.
So just as we've said in the past, we sometimes see these trends. The last time we saw it, we saw a trend that we know that has played out was the fact that downtown Toronto condos went on sale. That probably window was closer to 4 to 6 months. This is another window for investors. and it's gonna span right across all strategies, all properties, because people are scared. I'm gonna say as high as 90% of people just read the headlines. They don't dive into them, right? And so because of that, they're just, the conversations have changed already in people's homes. We know that. We know some of our out of our 54 real estate agents that really have their feet to the ground, they're telling us, the last couple of days, or some of our clients that we were out with have said, let's just put the brakes on. That's, again, as investors, which is 95% of our REC insiders, you might find some compelling buying opportunities because you're not going to have as much competition. Reach out to a mortgage broker, guys. This is the time. Very, very simple to do. If you have someone at the bank that that you have a relationship with, continue that relationship. If you know somebody who's an independent mortgage broker, give him or her a call. Start having the conversations of what what you might be able to get in terms of affordability, in terms of a mortgage. Get your credit and all that stuff taken care of right now. It's a simple call to your bank, to your mortgage broker. If you don't have anyone and you're just not maybe comfortable, just shoot us an email. info@reccanada.com. That's info@reccanada.com. Just put in the subject line REAP, REAP. Just put it, very, very simple. And one of our experts will reach out to you to get that process started. And there's no cost, guys. If we were charging $20,000, $10,000, $13,000, $1,000.
Maybe we should charge 20.
Sometimes I really feel like it, but we had
just 20,000.
Hey, we made an agreement to each other that we're not going to do that. I appreciate Steven there behind the ones and twos putting up. Just send that email REAP to info@reccanada.com, and that's only if you don't have a relationship with somebody. We're not in the business of stepping on people's toes, but this is the time. And I mean, Simos, we got on a call even before the hike. You and I started saying, okay, it's time. Let's get 2-3 of our agents out there for you and I for our personal portfolio, and let's start to see what's out there now. Now we're going to put that on steroids, for a lack of a better word,
100%.
because we know there's going to be less people.
And we already have a few things that we're looking at. And before I speak to that, I wanted to now kind of flip the script a little bit, because we kind of started this kind of harping on the mortgage rates, on worst case scenarios, kind of addressing that whole nonsense, for a lack of a better term, and I'll tell you why. February 2021, February 2022. Last year, as a record, first time in the GTA's history, the average price of a home became 6 figures. It was, 7 figures. It was $1 million. This year, February, a new record, $1,280,000, what have you. What I want to get into, and this is something that on this call, the difference between Brunch with REC and any other show, organization, educational portal, whatever you want to call it, is here you get the real. If anybody in this audience feels they deserved $300,000, if anybody in this audience feels they earned it, and if anybody thinks that it's normal for a market to jump 30% year over year, I can tell you with absolute certainty that it's not normal. It's not going to happen this year. What Jazz was mentioning earlier about seeing a little bit less activity in a little window of opportunity, as an investor, we have to look to be opportunistic. But in a housing market where the function is for somebody to buy a home to live in, or for an investor to make a move in, a 30% gain is not normal. It's not welcome. Yes, everybody made a truckload of cash, but it creates massive volatility. It creates government attention, unwanted government attention. It creates all the things to hurt a market or to make a market not predictable. As investors, as brokers, as human beings, we like stability and predictability.
Yeah, and in the real estate market, when you say stability, for us anyways, and this is our take, guys. I mean, take it with a grain of salt or whatever, like, you know, whatever that saying is, because at the end of the day, I mean, you might have your own opinions around this kind of stuff, but for us, stability in the GTA real estate market is that slow and steady 7%, 7.5% year over year.
But brother, 7.5 is a pipe dream. That's amazing.
100%, well, on a regular investment, but we've been also very used to seeing that over a 40-year period, right? Even if you take out these silly 25, 28, 30% gains in the last couple of years, take those out as outliers, we still saw about 7.2 over the 7.3 over the last 40 years. And so it's that slow and steady, you know, like it always reminds me, maybe it's because we got kids and we're reading these books to them. It's that tortoise and hare, you know what I mean? We know who won. It's that slow and steady kind of game.
But that's always the case.
Yeah.
So the point that I'm trying to finish with, if anybody bought real estate in the last year, because I think those are the only people that are the most vulnerable to this, meaning if there was a correction, if there was anything because of any reason whatsoever, which I do not, for the record, believe there is. I actually think the market will continue to climb until we actually fix what's wrong. But that's my opinion. But if there was something to happen, the only people that are vulnerable to this are the people who bought in the last 12 months at the apex of any apex. Everybody else bought a different price, and their equity is protected by a minimum buffer of 30% that they climbed in the last year alone. So what I'm getting at is interest rates are going to go up. Let's call it by 1 full percentage point over the next year. So it'll be 1.5 before we put our tears on in that $300 a month of an increase gets your spirits juggled up. Remember about the $500,000 that your property is worth more than it was. $500,000 versus $5,000 a year in an increase to carry it. It is the only asset, it is the only commodity on this planet that does this type of activity.
And you're only vulnerable and you're only going to get really hurt, even if you bought in the last year, if you sell.
Right.
Right? Like,
Correct.
very important for us to mention that, right? Like, and that's what scares, I think, people in general, because if some type of, like, let's say there's a correction, and to think that there's not going to be some type of correction would be completely naive. Okay? As investors, we want the correction. On a side note, that's where we go on and real estate goes on sale. Everybody runs to Holt Renfrew or Sporting Life when there's a 10% discount. Everybody loses their lid. But then when real estate goes on sale, like, people still hold their, like, real estate goes on sale, guys go on a friggin' shopping spree, go nuts. But if you don't sell, you're going to be fine. Yeah, it won't be the ideal time to refinance either. You just got to wait it out. That's why we always try our best to articulate to our insiders internally, like, behind the YouTube page. Simos and I only look at 10-year windows. I get a lot of questions, Simos, from other real estate agents, as well as, like, our clients as well. Like, how do you guys set up your joint ventures, and do you guys buy all your properties together and all that kind of stuff? I'm going to say about 90% of our portfolios are identical. Like, we own the same property together. There's 10%. You have some stuff with your fam. I have some with my family. Every single time that Simos and I buy something, it's like clockwork for us. It's 10 years. Let's not even try to talk about this. We might entertain a conversation in 5 years, maybe. We're not into that 2-year kind of talk. Hey, Simos, you want to sell? Or none of that kind of stuff. We go into it with a 10-year window, because for us, that portfolio that we have together, just want to make sure 100% of our portfolio together, other than something in Florida that we have, is in the GTA. You look at the last 10 years in the GTA, values, and sorry, not in the last 10 years. If you look at the last 100 years, every 10-year period, prices double. Let's forget what happened in the last 2 years. Forget that anomaly, that outlier. You know as a fact, anybody who's watching and listening right now, that for the last 100 years, every 10-year period, values have doubled. So that's why for us, we're just like, hey, whatever we buy, it's a 10-year window for us. And so when there is a correction, put your buying hat on, okay, and sit tight. Enjoy this ride. Because to Simos's point, 30%, forget about it. Like, you got lucky. I would say that, one of the points that you mentioned, did you earn it? I kind of think that people did. I know what you were saying, Simos, like you didn't really earn it. You didn't go to work for it. You didn't put your hard hat on.
No, we're just talking about an obscene amount of money. It's just obscene.
Yeah. And the reason I say you kind of earned it, because for everybody who took action.
That's right. You
right,
damn
Simos?
right.
Because we have for the 700 people a year that we get to help, they took action. You know what I'm saying? And for all those 700 people, I think there's probably 7,000 people at least on the low end that we come across that never took the action, hence why they didn't earn it whatsoever. And so
I'll give everybody a quick example. Right now, one of the properties we're looking at, in the way, so this is a perfect example.
And just before you start that, Simos, don't forget your example. I just want to tell people right now, look, we're at about the 30-minute mark. I think we're obviously not going to be able to hold this to 35 minutes or anything, because that was a pipe dream like it always is for us. Just put your questions in there. Steven, do me a favor in the back end, bring any questions up. I think we're just going to go with the flow, do a kind of a live Q&A. Simos is going to tell a real story right now. Get your questions in, guys, and then we're going to spend the next 20 minutes answering any questions. Go high level, go low level on a deal, anything real estate related. It's not a silly question. Chances are, if you're thinking about it, there's another 10,000 people behind you. So stop being selfish and put your questions in the comments. Go, Simos.
So this is a real story of a deal that we are looking at right this very second, that has been identified as a deal, and we'll talk about how we got that deal. Number two, we're going through due diligence, and let's explain to everybody, what does Simeon and Jazz do for due diligence? How serious do we take our own feelings? Because we don't. How much do we trust ourselves? Because we don't. How much do we trust our 15 or 17 years of knowledge? None. And why is that? Why is it that every single time that we do a deal, we have to look at it from scratch? Pretend I'm the biggest dummy in town, pretend I know nothing, and trust the professionals in each one of their segments. What I do trust is my ability and your ability to negotiate a deal. I don't believe there is a better negotiator than myself or yourself. Call me conceited. I think I am the best at it. Prove me wrong, as the meme says. But what I do know as a fact is that Toronto zoning, no matter how much I know, I don't know enough. Toronto planning, no matter how much I know, I don't know enough. Design, no matter how amazing my taste might be, I can tell you that half the people other think the shit I do is ugly. So we have hired. So now we're looking, so let me tell you the asset class. Jazz and I were engaged by a friend in a property in a AAA location, downtown Toronto, and I cannot disclose the property. I can maybe in about 2 weeks. But it's AAA location, downtown West. And it's two properties side by side. They're kind of like the brownstones in New York. The properties are not cheap. They're probably going to run us 1.6 to 1.7 a pop. And they're in absolute horrific shape. So we're talking about a $3.5 million deal to put them together. So we're going to need about $1 million together. There's also another partner involved that's very experienced in the acquisition of these types of properties. Again, bringing in expertise. So we're going to need about $1 million in total to put this thing together. That's without doing anything. So there's going to be a construction period. There's going to be all these things. Now, if Jazz and I believed that the market was going to crash, we wouldn't buy these properties. But what Jazz and I believe is that no matter what the market does, in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and for the years thereafter, where our beautiful and amazing little children are going to carry the torch, that these are the properties specifically that are going to be the jewel on their crown. These ones specifically. because you cannot change the dirt that's there. It's there. And when I do announce where it is, everybody here will understand what I mean. Because it's not only opportune, it's smart, but you cannot have short-term vision for a long-term goal.
Now, Simos, I think it's very important to mention too, because as you were talking about it, I'm thinking about all the emails that are coming through about it, like for all this due diligence that we're doing, and I see the planners and a couple of other people that
Yeah,
like
so
are
there's
kind
the people what that costs.
of
We
that's
haven't even put in an offer yet. We just know of it.
I think that's very important for
Yeah.
people for people to understand, right? And even myself,
Yeah.
like personally, I didn't even know. Maybe up until probably a decade ago, I thought like these deals get put together quite quickly, and with like, oh, put in the offer and then do the due diligence on it, which I think on a residential income property, pre-construction condo, all that kind of stuff, you can do that with. With something like this, we're spending, what's like the invoices? I'm seeing something like close to like 10 grand or something like that before we can even put the offer in.
So we haven't put an offer in. So in order for us, so this is the thing, depending on the type of property and the location, the minute you put in an offer, the clock starts ticking. So we're trying to preemptively do as much research as possible. So when we do tie up the property, we have that time to do other things like environmentals, like structuring debt, like putting together legals and all those things. So the cost in the invoices that we're talking about is I didn't engage some nobody. I'm going to engage the best. This is my money. This is Jazz's money. This is our partner's money. It's our family's money. So to tell you how serious I take my investing, I'm about to pop 10K into the opinion of people who are the best at what they do.
Hey, we got that on recording, by the way, that you said you're going to put your 10,000 in.
No.
We got that on recording. I'm just catching you. Go.
I'm not going to talk about your cultural well-being right now.
So no, just the cost, right?
No, but what I'm getting at is, so we have this I can say, I have Jane McFarland, who is a senior planner at Weston Consulting on my file. I have Matthew Halo of Weston Consulting on my file. I don't want anyone else.
Yeah, not with something like this big.
That's right. And I also want to know and trust that when they say it's going to take you 6 to 8 months to get the approval to add density, I need to know that that's true because she just did it.
Yeah.
Jane just did it a block away. Not somebody who's, oh, it'll take you 6 months or it'll go 12 months. And then 3 years later, you're still carrying $50,000 a month in interest.
Yeah.
No, thank you. So anyways, this is how it's done. No matter what the market is, we have a long-term goal. We are very fortunate that early on, the gambles and the speculation that we could afford, we did. Everything paid out in bundles. And now we're put in a position where we have to be ultra-conservative for wealth preservation.
And we've done something like this, not this type of deal before, like this downtown Toronto, like this kind of play, but there's been so many times we've written those $5,000-$7,000 checks and we got this at the end of it.
Yes.
Other than the learning experience.
Other than the relief of paying $5,000 and not going into the deal. Yeah. Like, thank you, Jesus. I just lost $5,000 as opposed to 500.
Yeah, for sure. Great point. We want to take you guys live questions. Why don't we just do a quick rapid fire, Simos? I think the most important metric that we like to use, the stats are hot today, came out like, I don't know, 8 p.m., 9 p.m. last night for all February's numbers. Average price in the greater Toronto area is 1.3 million. But the main metric that we all like to talk about, we sound like a broken record, is months of inventory. So overall in the GTA, it's at 3 weeks. And so if all the properties on MLS right now sell based on the previous month, it would take 3 weeks for all those properties to sell. If no one listed a new property. I think the ones that stand out to me is Brampton at 2 weeks. And then our friends in the Durham region, actually 2 weeks as well. So those are the two that really stand out to me. Durham is 36%. What does that mean? Takes you to an average price point of 1.2 million. It's the guys, I wish I was doing a lot more content 17 years ago. We suck in that sense, Simos, that we didn't. Because like we've always said for 17 years, you have to drive till you qualify. And now we actually know, like when people say, why is Durham 1.2? It's, you know, there's certain areas in Oshawa that are not good or whatever it is, right? It's because you can't buy something in Avenue and Lawrence anymore for less than 3 million. You know what I mean? Like, so this is what always happens. What's one of the hottest markets that you told me on the East End 2 days ago as we're looking into doing some due diligence, right? We don't have anything. I'm not trying to tell you guys that we have any type of opportunities there, but what was it in Ontario? So Kingston?
Which one?
Kingston, you mentioned to me or something.
No, we were talking about Kingston, Belleville.
Yeah.
In that whole, so Kingston specifically is the highest appreciating market in Ontario, if not Canada or something.
But see, like everybody who's listening right now and watching, like, why does that happen? Well, Durham's at $1.2 million average. So what are buyers going to say? Honey, we need home. We need a home. I want a home. I don't want to rent. I want a home. Great. Well, we can't get 1.2 because the mortgage broker or the guys at the gals at the bank said we can't get that. Great. What's next? Let's go to Bowmanville. Okay, let's take a look at Bowmanville. Well, Bowmanville average for new build condos right now is, I think, like slightly under $1,000 price per square foot. Okay, can't afford it anymore, honey. So this is what has always happened. It will continue to happen. We'll be talking about this till we like lose even more hair. This is going to go on forever. This is not going to stop, guys. It's look, you know what's a great example is New York. Manhattan, we all talk about Manhattan. We know Manhattan. Take a look at what the price points in Queens is right now. And Brooklyn. Areas you wouldn't go to during the day without having bulletproof windows and stuff. You know what I mean? And like now, the average price point of those brownstones that you were speaking about and condos, it's skyrocketed. Same thing. You can't afford Manhattan. You can't afford certain other little areas in the 5 boroughs, and then Queens. I don't even think Queens is like news anymore. That was probably 2020, 2021. I have a feeling an area like Staten Island is going to start to increase now as well as Queens and Brooklyn and the Bronx start to get more expensive, right? And so this is going to continue, guys. Look, I'm born and raised in Rexdale, right? You guys know that. And you know, an area that didn't appreciate as close to as other parts of in Toronto proper, but you can't find a home, a detached home for less than $1 million there too either. Like it's just what's going to continue to happen.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close.
You know what I mean? And so when you can get these little windows of opportunities as investors, I think as end users too, you're going to have that 60-day window as well, because you're not going to have as much competition. So you definitely will have that window. But I'm speaking to our investor friends. Start shopping, guys. Start looking. Like, that doesn't mean you have to buy something. Just get out. It's like, if you're ready and you really want to take action, this little 60-day window is, you're going to notice that there's just not as many people out and about seeing homes. And I also think the fact that the city is opening up, I guess, if I can say, probably, like it feels like it is, because now everybody and anybody can go to a restaurant. I think some people are going to be distracted as well. There's not ways to time the market. Like, this is not a webinar or a brunch today about trying to time the market. We know we're not that stupid to think that you could time the market. But if you can have any advantage, look for it and then take action on that. And the fact that some people are going to go to the bars a little bit more in the next 30 days because they haven't been able to, take advantage of that. Like, whatever you can find a little in, you take advantage of that. Steven, if there's any questions popping up, I know Simos and I would love to take them. We're going to go for another 20 minutes. Simos, I'll throw this at you right now, brother. Do you think you will look at projects outside the GTHA So I guess H is for Hamilton, and offer the insiders with VIP access?
The answer is absolutely yes. We still are fighting and trying and battling to get the best projects in the GTA. The demand is so ridiculous that we simply cannot get enough, meaning we're usually getting 10, 15, 20, 30 units per great project. We're getting 4 or 5, 6. So that supply constraint is starting to feel very real to us and our insiders. I don't think we have a choice other than to expand our network because we will never compromise our due diligence.
And
we're not going to open up the funnels to more projects that don't make sense or don't pass our due diligence and put anybody that trusts me that our clients know what we do at this point. So I'm not going to continue to harp on it. We have built a lot of trust with our clients. We have built a lot of liability and responsibility on our own shoulders. So the only thing that we won't do is sell projects that do not pass our criteria under any circumstance. Do we have to expand? More than likely, we don't have a choice. We're going to have to open up the area. But the fundamentals that we look for will always be there no matter what, or we won't touch it.
Look, there's a reason that the name of our company is REC Canada, because we always had the vision that we're going to stretch right coast to coast in the nation. We started 4 years ago specifically as we needed to go through a rebrand as our third partner had passed away. Simos and I sat down with our VP, Laura Stewart, and said, okay, like, what are we going to do here? What's the messaging? What do we really, truly, truly believe in? And that was exactly coming up to 5 years, I guess it would be this September. 4 years, I apologize, this September. We said, look, the company name is REC Canada. We know that we're going to get there right across the country. However, where we bleed and truly, truly believe in that GTHA that the insider mentioned, and I apologize, I didn't see the name, so thank you for the question. That let's really build this proper and build it with a strong foundation, just like a house. Can't build it on a swampy foundation. You definitely can't build an organization, because we're not even real estate brokers. Half the people don't even know we're brokers anymore. We are very blessed to have a real organization with leadership teams and people like Tyler's and Ali, who's our new real estate concierge person, and he'll be giving you guys and gals a shout on a regular basis. We said that we're going to do this properly from the ground up and go GTHA centric. It's what we know. You tell me a street in the greater Toronto area, and I'll tell you if it's a good street or a bad street. Like this, I'm born and raised here. Simos has been here for 20 years. Like, we know this like the back of our hand. But at the same time, what we've done and what we did was, well, we still have people, we have clients and insiders. There's people watching right now. That's why we say, hey, let us know where you're coming in from. We have people from Alberta and Vancouver and Quebec. And so what we did is we partnered up with service providers / investor savvy realtors that could be an extension of us, right? They're kind of cut from the same cloth as us, meaning they're not perfect, just like Simos and I aren't, or anyone in our organization is, but they're gonna go to the ends of the earth to fix a problem. When there's that little bit of turbulence like you have on a flight, the pilot doesn't jump out and say you're on your own. And so we wanted to have people like that. However, we also said in a 4 to 5 year period, if we do this right, and we gain the trust of our insiders, when the time is right, we'll feel it. There is no metric that we use from a financial perspective, a revenues perspective, none of that. We said we're going to feel it. And in the last 60 days, the conversations internally and with our leadership team is it might be time to start to spread our wings right across the country as we're getting national exposure through so much content, which brings up another great point. I think right now we're watching live on REC Canada. This is our company page. This is our company organization, but our thought process is we're going to be everywhere and anywhere. We're not going to let you get away from us. And so if you like to see our faces, you're going to see a bunch of videos. If you like to only hear us because you don't like our faces, well, then we're on the podcast platforms. And if you don't like to see us or hear us and you like to only read what we have to say, well, we have our website, our REC Canada website that gets updated on a regular basis with blogs and opportunities of all that, of that sort. But we personally also have our own platform. So make sure to go check out our stuff personally on the Instagrams and the Facebooks. Simos does some things slightly different than I do. And that's just kind of the mix that we bring to the table. I think you guys enjoy it from the feedback that we've gotten. So make sure that you not only follow us and part of our journey here through REC Canada, but find us personally as well, as sometimes I'm in a mood to do 20 videos a day, and some days I'm in the mood to do 0, and then Simos pipes in and does stuff on his platform.
Remember, we also speak to different audiences. So so right now we're speaking to our REC insiders, which is regular, our fellow citizens looking to get into real estate and understand real estate and improve their situation and their journey. So this is what we call client retail facing. So you as our audience are looking to engage in regular real estate activity, meaning buying your first, your fourth, your 10th, but that's still regular real estate activity. We also, as the number 1 or number 2 or number 3, we always rotate in that top in the entire country. Jazz and I run the first, second, or third, depending on the year, largest real estate organization across Royal LePage, which is 20,000 agent deep. So we also have a responsibility there to lead the charge. So when other agents join Royal LePage and they look up and say, who's there? Just like 20 years ago we did, or excuse me, 16 years ago to be exact. When we joined Royal LePage, we looked at who do I want to be when I grow up? Well, that's happening today. And that is part of our duties as chairman.
When I grow up, I still want to be like you, though.
You son of a gun, you.
Okay. All right.
So I'm just trying to finish. So we do speak to brokers. We do speak to regular people. We do speak to economists. So we do wear different hats. And we do hope and trust that the insight that we bring resonates with you and is of value to you. Just know that we try very, very hard. Lots of love.
Next question, Stephen, bring it up. You guys have been great. Spiros, big shout out to you. We appreciate your support. I have a feeling you're probably at the cottage. I have this gut feeling you're watching Brunch with REC today from the cottage. One of your paisans there, Simos. Big shout out to Spiros because he's taken a lot of action and trusted us a lot. For everybody, I want to say have an awesome weekend. Simos, I think I might be seeing you for a drink tonight. I'm excited if that does happen. If it doesn't, you have an awesome weekend. Have an awesome flight back to Alberta as you get together with your family. It's very, very important on a regular basis and in general, but definitely with what you guys are going through.
Yeah. So again, lastly, I want to thank, literally there's been hundreds of people reaching out to me. I did make a couple blanket statements on social, thanking everyone. I want to thank everyone again for their support and their love sent to me. It means the world to me. Just like you mean the world to me, and I would give that back tenfold. Everybody who supports us every day and who supports us through the shitty times as well, just like right now. I love you all. As always, enjoy your weekend. Have a powerful weekend. And thank you, everybody, for your support. Jazzy, I love you too, broski.